Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. Folks, we got a show for you guys here today, but before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel if you haven't already. Let's get into today's topic. So, yesterday was a pretty rowdy day in the sports world, especially around the NBA. Because a lot of us were reacting to the comments that LeBron James decided to post on his Twitter, where he essentially said that he's done with all of the drama, whatever. He's going to take a break and he'll see you guys later. And then he liked, he commented on a post that I think Kevin Durant's agent put up. Rich Kleiman, I think is his name. Kleiman. And he was basically complaining about the coverage of sports and all of that stuff. And then LeBron said he's basically going to take a break from social media. And I said that the reason LeBron is deciding to do this is because of the criticism that his son, Bronny James, has been getting. But I've also been vocal about the fact that LeBron is the one that brought a lot of this heat on Bronny James by basically going out there and saying he's better than the NBA players that he's looking at right now on League Pass, saying that he can play on the Lakers right now, which is a total disrespect at the time to his current teammates. You're talking about Bronny James being better than the actual NBA players on the roster. But nevertheless, some people in media thought it was cute. LeBron fans were up there twerking it up, hollering, screaming, slapping, rubbing each other with honey, rubbing their bellies with honey, just talking about, man, we can't wait to see. So what happened? He got to the NBA, and of course, it wasn't any good. Right. And just the compounded fact that he wasn't good, we then started seeing this grotesque preferential treatment, which was just absolutely something that turned the stomachs of a lot of people especially when we heard the news that he wasn't going to be traveling with his South Bay Lakers team on the road. A lot of us was like, okay, this is becoming grotesque. This is becoming disgusting. Right. This is actually becoming disgusting. So LeBron went out there and put out those comments. And then they decided to table it yesterday at ESPN on ESPN First Take, and I think they had Brian Windhorst, Stephen A. Smith, Molly Karam. I can't remember who else they had on the panel, but they were reacting to this, right? And something told me that Stephen A. Smith was going to respond to LeBron James and go off on him. And that is exactly what he called LeBron out for every piece of BS that he was trying to promote. But before we even get into what Stephen A. Smith had to say, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, Game Time. With only 4 months left until the end of the year, I look forward to creating special moments with family and friends by attending various theaters, shows, plays, and sporting events. And when it comes time for me to look for tickets, I absolutely love to use Game Time. Game Time is one of the most reliable marketplaces for last-minute tickets to the most popular events in sports, music, and theater in more than 60 cities across the United States and Canada. Game Time saves me money, time, and peace of mind, so I don't have to sort through thousands of tickets looking for the best prices or worry about whether or not if they're authentic or whether I'm going to receive them on time. Game Time Picks, one of my favorite Game Time tools, analyzes thousands of tickets for all of your favorite events near your location and finds you the best possible deal so you don't have to. For example, I'm looking forward to this upcoming concert at Madison Square Garden of one of my favorite composers, Hans Zimmer. Here, I can select the all-in price to see the total ticket price up front, no hidden fees. And now I can sort through the best possible deals I can find. I can choose the cheapest deals, the great deal, or the amazing deal. Once you select the ticket you want, you can use their panoramic seat view to ensure you know exactly what you're getting before you buy. And if you're like me and always make plans at the last minute, you can grab tickets up to 90 minutes after the event has started. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and use redeem code CLNS for $20 off. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do is we want to play a compilation of some of the things that Stephen A. Smith had to say in response to LeBron James, and then we're going to come back and really get into the show. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
There's several layers to all of this that's not being told. Number one, what's your definition of negativity? If you shoot 2 for 20 and somebody said you played like hot garbage last night, is that negative? Was that factual? Because to me, it's only negative if you continue with that narrative as opposed to neglecting to point out the positive when they perform in a very positive fashion. If I'm celebrating you when you play well, but I'm pointing out when you play bad, that's just me covering the game. but there are people they could talk to. There are stories that could be told. There's a level of genuine truthfulness and honesty and objectivity that could be brought to the equation, but that's not what you want to do because you might not like a particular person when their objective is the story, not you, and to tell those stories. So when you say there's more storytelling that could be told, yeah. Who are people that are in ideal positions to tell those stories? Those very individuals that don't want to tell it unless they want to tell it to who they want to tell it to. As opposed to having folks standing in front of their face, objectively dissecting what they're saying about the story. That's far more important than anything they might be a bit salty about, and they pass on those opportunities. So when you talk about First Take, for example, you brought up First Take. Let's talk about First Take for a second. There's former athletes and present athletes that come on this show all the time. They're always welcome. Always welcome. We don't shy away from that. You got something you want to debate? Fine. You got something you want to promote? Fine. You got something you want to big up? Fine. We have no problem with that. But because somebody talked about you playing like trash in the playoffs when you did something you would openly admit you did later on, suddenly you don't want anything to do with them. You're persona non grata. I'm saying to you, there's a grown-up element to all of this that people don't gravitate to. And then they got cats in the podcast stratosphere, all right, that literally confirm and condone that kind of mentality until they're forced to speak truth to power about what's transpiring. And then the players themselves turn against them. And so when we look at this negativity and just say to national media, nah, that ain't good enough. Because there's people, your brethren, former players, present players, with a microphone, with a camera, that got absolute carte blanche to speak truth to power, and they know what they're talking about. And then you challenge them not even because it's false, but because you said, nah, that's not something you say. That's not something you publicize. And they go after their own. So when we talk about national media, who's Rich Kleiman talking about? Who's LeBron James co-signing on with that? What are you talking about exactly? Give examples. We're all ears. We're all ears. But they won't do that. You know why? Because then you get challenged. And you're getting challenged on the level of consistency that you may be lacking with your argument. My brother, Wendy, I like the shop. I think they've done a hell of a job. Pedro, Maverick, and the rest of the crew, nothing but love from me. But let me be very, very clear. It ain't like First Take. And I'm going to tell you why. Because there's very, very little resistance when LeBron opens his mouth about something. There's very little that challenges some of the things that he says, okay? And I can say that because I'll put myself on Front Street when Maverick or Rich have joked with me about coming on the shop, because I do believe they were joking when they were saying that. I've said this to them, and I meant it from the bottom of my heart. I'll show up, name the time and place. Oh, by the way, no editing. Make sure that what I say is in there. You understand? Don't sit up there and edit me out and cut me out. Oh, no. Let's have that real conversation. I ain't never been invited. Ain't no accident. We know what time it is. See, people can talk all they want to, but at the end of the day, it comes down to that level of truth and how truthful and authentic are you willing to have a conversation with. When Kleiman brought up JJ and LeBron, okay, that's fine. Y'all were talking pure basketball. We appreciate that, and basketball junkies should appreciate that. Excellent, excellent podcast with the both of them. You learn so much. Both of them are basketball savants as far as I'm concerned. But the world doesn't consist of savants, and the world ain't always interested in listening to savants be savants all the damn time. Sometimes they want stuff normalized. They want it to a degree where even though you're dissecting it with a fine-tooth comb and you're showing the world that you know what most don't, in the end, at some point in time, there's a bottom line factor that comes into the equation. What's the result? Are you going to win or are you going to lose? What's the real reason this happened? A lot of times they ain't going to dime out their teammates. They ain't going to dime out their coach. They ain't going to tell you how LeBron felt about Darvin Ham, for example, right? But we know that you were doing a podcast with JJ, and JJ ends up being the next coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. Well, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it ain't a damn mongoose.
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say. I agree with almost every single word that he uttered. Almost every single word. I also like the fact how Stephen A. Smith called out LeBron's tendency of trying to control the narrative. He used the example of, he was like, well, if you guys want to have, he said, the reason you guys want to invite me on your show is because you know you're going to have some pushback. And he said, the only way I'll come on your show is if you didn't edit me. You would actually have to release everything the way it was when we did the interview. And he said, the reason y'all won't do that is because you don't want to have anybody push back on you. Essentially what he was saying is that when LeBron does these shows, essentially he just wants an echo chamber of where people are going to be saying things that he agrees with, or rather he's going to be saying things that people always are going to agree with him. Right? In terms of LeBron trying to turn himself into a victim here, I thought that was pretty comical. It actually was comical. Coming into the season, when people were hyping up Bronny and all of that stuff leading into opening night and what is it, in summer league and all of that, in training camp and all of that stuff, preseason, I didn't hear any of this. LeBron did sure seem to enjoy the attention on opening night when it was him and he seemed to enjoy it. But what ended up happening was Bronny wasn't living up to the expectations. And it started to get to him. Now, LeBron feeling the type of way of people being critical of his kids, that's totally understandable. But this is the price you pay when you decide to put your kids on full display for the public. People are going to have criticisms. People are going to have things to say. They're just going to. There's some people that share their kids on social media all the time. And there are other people that are very careful about that, right? There are other people that are very careful. But if you're going to put your kids out there for them to be judged, best believe people are going to judge them. In the case of Bronny, what made it even worse is that everyone knows he doesn't deserve that spot that he's in. So that's the first thing. But then for him to be paraded all over the place, and then on top of that, for him to be getting preferential treatment, of course people are going to push back. Of course people are. And that's what you've been seeing. That is exactly what you've been seeing, and I think it's something that's bothering him. Because it's something he can't control. All the money that LeBron has, he can't control that. He can't control what people out there think of what they're seeing. And that's bothering him. The part that pissed me off yesterday was this holier than thou approach that LeBron was trying to take about, oh, media is becoming so toxic and blah, 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 in terms of liking what his friend was saying, which means that he was agreeing with those point of views. And I'm like, when Russell Westbrook was being trashed as your teammate, why wasn't the media, why didn't you decide to take a hiatus then? The reason you didn't do it was because it wasn't affecting you. It wasn't affecting you. It was affecting somebody else. So every day they were trashing Russell Westbrook on social media, on TV shows for a good year and a half. You were there. It didn't bother you. You didn't stand up for Russell Westbrook. You didn't talk about the negative coverage on Westbrook because it didn't affect you. But the minute it hit your doorstep, all of a sudden, man, I need a break. I need to get away from all of this. To this very second, I still don't understand why Bronny James is even on the lake. I don't understand it. Because he's not going to be playing with them normal minutes. He's not playing on the G League team when they travel. So what's the purpose of Bronny even being there? Some people are like, well, the reason the Lakers are doing that is because you're getting more engaged LeBron. You're getting more engaged LeBron. They're still going to lose anyway. They're not going to win the championship anyway. They just been on a 6-game winning streak playing nobodies. 5 out of the 6 teams that they played didn't even have a winning record. So it's not like as if it's going to materialize into a championship at all. But for Stephen A. Smith to push back the way that he did, you can tell that he was tired and fed up of the nonsense that these guys try to promote on a daily basis. That he was fed up. That he was actually fed up. And Molly over there pointing out the obvious. Sports, you heard, I like what he said. Sports is something that really brings people. Yeah, because we needed him to tell us that. We didn't know that already. It's like saying politics is divisive. Like, we didn't know that already. So that's what Stephen A. Smith had to say. I thought it was very entertaining, but somebody needed to keep it real on this subject. Because a lot of people are going to be running. And trust me, the people that may push back on LeBron on this, usually some of them are just going to be following the trend. Because it's the thing to do. The people that actually had original thoughts on this are like the Ryan Clarks. Those guys that actually called it out before all of these other people started calling it out. Those are the guys that actually had an original thought on this issue. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you on the next show. Peace.